Tonight, we invite our keynote speaker who comes all the way from Sydney, Nyange Warren Mundine. Nyange Warren is a respected and influential businessman, a political strategist, and an Indigenous advocate. He empowers Indigenous Australians to build sustainable Indigenous economy. He has more than 40 years' experience working in the public, private, and community sector. And in 2016, Nyange Warren was made an Officer of the Order of Australia. Most recently, he chaired the Prime Minister's Indigenous Advisory Council for 4 years and was the Chief Executive Officer and Executive Chair of Generation One. Nyange Warren has an honorary doctorate from the University of Southern Cross for service to the community, business and local government. Ladies and gentlemen, please make him welcome tonight as he proceeds to the stage.
Thank you very much for that. It's always good to get your mother to write your CV for you. It's a great honour to address you tonight at the East Kimberley's Aboriginal Achievement Awards here in Kununurra, on the land of the Mirarong and Gadjarong people. I also pay respect to my own people, the Bundjalung, Gumbanga and Yuin, and a touch of the Irish as well. Tonight, we're here to celebrate success. I once had a debate with a bloke on Twitter who said that because of how Aboriginal people were treated in the past, we're disadvantaged today. That just being Aboriginal makes you disadvantaged. So let's talk about this tonight. How many Aboriginal people here tonight think they are disadvantaged just because they're Aboriginal? How many people here think that being Aboriginal gives them opportunities or even advantages? This is a photo of my dad's certificate of exemption from the New South Wales Aboriginal Protection Act. Older people in the room will remember we call them dog tags. For nearly a century, all Aboriginal states and territories had Aboriginal protection laws, a system of control of all aspects of life. It allowed governments to remove Aboriginal children, impose segregation, banned us from having a drink in a pub. The Welfare Board told Aboriginal people on reserves where to work and then could take their wages. We were banned from being outside after 5 p.m. My dad was a grader driver. He trained in World War II in Darwin, working for the war effort. When he came home, he worked on crews all over the state for the Department of Main Roads. One time when he was travelling home from the next town, he was arrested for being out after 5 p.m. His boss then asked him to get a certificate so he could be exempt from the restrictions of the Aboriginal Protection Board. You see the photo is damaged. My mother scratched it out. She hated that Aboriginal people needed a certificate and to carry it around everywhere just to do what other Australians could do. Even after the protection laws were repealed, Dad always carried his dog tags with him. If some young person ever complained nothing had improved for Aboriginal people, he'd pull it out and say, "What do you mean nothing has changed? Do you need one of these? You don't know what racism really was." In the 60 years since Dad got his dog tags, Australians voted to change the Constitution to include Indigenous people. The protection regimes were dissolved and racial discrimination became illegal. We achieved land rights and compensation for land loss, and the High Courts recognised native title. Aboriginal children can now go to any school, can go to university, can marry whoever they want, live where they want, work where they want, travel where they want. We enjoy all the same rights as every other Australian. Yet I keep hearing Aboriginal people complaining about racism, more than I ever heard when racism was actually in the law and how people treated us. In fact, the first years of my life was brought up under the segregation segregation laws in New South Wales. As barriers have been pulled down and opportunities have opened up, you'd think racism actually increased. Many of the largest complaints I hear are from Aboriginal people who have grown up with every opportunity. Education at the highest level, benefits from special programs, have nice homes, have good jobs and salaries, yet they complain about racism. This narrative of racist Australia, where being Aboriginal is a disadvantage, doesn't hold them back. But it's very damaging to Aboriginal families and communities where people are struggling, where kids don't go to school, where Aboriginals aren't working, and where there's chronic welfare dependency, alcohol and substance abuse, and violence. When Aboriginal people think racism is to blame for the problems, it sends a message that they have no control of their future. It is a message of hopelessness, and it is wrong. Being Aboriginal isn't a disadvantage. Being an Aboriginal Australian today means opportunities and advantages. Here are some examples of how. Our culture has been on this continent for longer than any other and has existed longer than any others in the world. We have a deep knowledge and unique perspective of this land. We come from a long line of people who thrived thousands of years isolated from other civilisations, many in hostile environments. When the British first come here, they nearly starved. In fact, Burke and Wills actually did starve to death in an area where Aboriginal people lived in luxury. We come from a long line of people who survived depression. The British thought we'd die out and be absorbed into the general population, and they were wrong. We are citizens of Australia, a peaceful country with a strong economy, one of the world's great democracies where people have every opportunity. That's an advantage on a global stage. We live on a continent abundant for economic prosperity. Indigenous people have rights over nearly 3/4 of Australia and compensation for lands lost. The Aboriginal population is growing much faster than the general population. While the rest of Australia is growing older and grumpier, we are growing younger and sexier. In fact, when I was on Palm Island, 50% of the population is under the age of 23. I just missed that date. By 2040, Indigenous Australians will make up half of Northern Australia's population. And I say that again, by 2040, Indigenous Australians will make up half of Northern Australia's population. And Northern Australia sits on the doorstep of the fastest growing, most highly populated region in the world. All of this means great economic opportunities. And governments and corporations want to help remedy the impact of past discrimination. There are internships, set-aside jobs and training, scholarships at the best schools. If you want to take up a trade or go to university, someone will help you. If you want to set up a business and you'll have priority in winning government contracts. In fact, the government had set the Indigenous procurement policy, 3% of all government contracts, federal government contracts, should go to an Indigenous business. As of last Friday, that figure was over $500 million going into Indigenous businesses. By the year 2022, the predictions is it'll be up to $1.5 billion annually going into Indigenous businesses. I work and travel all over Australia. I meet and talk with all different kinds of people from all walks of life. People from all over Australia talk to me on social media, from ordinary people you never heard of to household names. I'm here to tell you that the vast majority of people out there want Aboriginal people to prosper. They want us to succeed. Success doesn't just mean winning an Olympic gold medal like Kathy Freeman, no matter how great that was, or making a hit album like Jessica Mailboy, or winning 2 Brownlow medals like Adam Goods. Success is finishing school. I left school at 16. My school didn't think I had what it took to go on, but I was determined to do my high school certificate, so I went to TAFE later and studied at night. Success is having a job. My ancestors couldn't read or write, but always worked. Having a job is life-changing, not just for the worker, My grandparents worked and their children grew up thinking it was normal, so they worked too. Their children, including me, grew up thinking it was normal to work, and so we also got jobs. And so did all of our children. One person having a job changes the lives of hundreds of people. Success is running a small business. Small businesses are the backbone of the Australian economy, employing millions of people, especially outside the city areas. The governments want to kickstart Indigenous-owned business, especially in remote and regional Australia. The Woonan Foundation has some great initiatives too. Anyone here who has a small business idea, come to talk to me tonight. In fact, I invite you to come and talk to me tonight. And over the next few days while I'm in town, I don't fly out till Tuesday, I'd love to hear about it. Because one of the jobs that I've been given in the last month or so is to go into regional and remote Australia by the federal government to look about how we can kickstart small to medium in businesses in rural remote Australia. In fact, I just arrived from Palm Island, where I spent the last 4 days looking at businesses and getting businesses starting there. Nights like this are so important because we need to celebrate success. But often I see Aboriginal people criticise other Aboriginal people when they succeed. Sometimes we're our own worst enemies. Like crabs in a bucket, as a crab climbs its way out, others pull it back down, so none ever escape. I talk about that because recently a woman who worked for me, Indigenous woman from Toowoomba, who was my executive assistant, she left me and then went on to work for other businesses, and she's doing her MBA, completing her MBA this year. She works for a large construction company in Melbourne, which has contracts building infrastructure around Australia and within mining camps. She copped a bit of flack on Facebook because she was out there being successful and doing her thing. My parents lived most of their lives categorised as second-class citizens in Australia, but in their own minds they weren't. They suffered racism, but they shrugged their shoulders and just got on with it. They didn't see themselves as victims. To them, that thinking was a weakness. They started married life in a tent, living on a river. My father was born at Bayugal in the north coast of New South Wales, and his family lived in humpies, and he actually grew up sleeping on the ground with his brothers. They grasped every opportunity with their hands and their feet and clawed their way out of poverty. They scrimped and saved every penny and bought a house. They ensured their kids had the best education they could attain. They moved to Sydney to get better opportunities. They never let racism hold them back. I hear Aboriginal people talk about black pride. See people describe themselves as proud Aboriginal women and men. People who are truly proud don't embrace victimhood. If you're a proud Aboriginal person, act like one. I urge everyone here to embrace success and to celebrate it, and also to celebrate other people's success. We must not tolerate the idea that failure is cultural and achievement is white. Traditional Aboriginal culture celebrated success. Under traditional law, people were expected to contribute. Elders, lawmen, songmen were revered. Succeeding isn't betraying your people. Success is honouring your people and honouring your ancestors. So congratulations to all tonight's nominees and winners. You deserve it and you did a great job. Thank you.